Hello and welcome to Real Geeks. I am your host, Crash and Burn, and with me as always is Mike Montgomery, and welcome to part 2 of a very special episode. It's part 2 of Turning Red. Part 1 was released on Monday. Today is Friday, and well, quite frankly, we just had so much content from the original recording because the further Mike delved into the bad reviews and the criticism attached to this film, the weirder and wilder it became. And soon enough, he had fallen all the way down that rabbit hole. And the resulting insane mess is what you get for part 2. So enjoy your weekend. Happy Friday. And thank you very much for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/here you go for more. And without further ado, Turning Red, Part 2. So yeah, we had actually gone through and recorded the entire review of Turning Red, and stuff kept creeping up in the media about a certain group of people's reaction to it. Apparently, there are certain conservative members of the audience who do not really like the idea that women have periods, or that maybe art should mention or discuss this, and have been very upset that there was not a warning that girls go through puberty. Watch out!
Yeah. In all seriousness, we thought we had said everything that needed to be said about this movie. Very quickly, this is a wonderful movie. We both loved it. But the almighty algorithm that governs all of social media,
praise be the algorithm, praise,
literally just looked at me and went, "Oh, you thought you were done? No, you are not done." Because pretty much ever since we finished recording, it has just been conveniently sending me things again and again, to the point that we had to record this extra section because, there's stuff that needs to be responded to.
Yeah. So, Mike, if you would like to start going through the list of things that need to be responded to. A list, for fuck's sake.
Right? Okay, so this all started when Facebook decided to point me toward a webpage called Transformed for More Ministries. Now, I know nothing about this organization, other than the fact that, based on their profile picture, I'm assuming that this is a ministry that is female-led, which, I'm sorry, but irony abounds here. But they had put up this post of reviews, and once again, air quotes here, that people had sent their Instagram account about Turning Red. And, just this first one that they posted it's a screenshot from Twitter, and this just highlights the importance of context and making sure that you have the full quote, why we need to link back to full articles. Now this one is a screenshot from a Kyle Becker, who pulled a quote from a LA Times interview that Domi Shi did to promote the movie, where she said, "I just want people to discover that girls can be as weird and pervy and strange as boys can be with this movie." Now, he goes on to say, "I'm starting to get a clearer picture now why Disney hates Florida's anti-groomer bill."
Oh.
Now, that's his entire post. Now, because I enjoy this little thing called verification, I found that article. Now, I would also like to note that he does put a link to it in his tweet, but the Transformed for More Ministries rather conveniently does not include that link.
Of course. No, of course not.
Here's where we find out why. Now, first and foremost, the article is called How Boy Bands and Anime Inspired Pixar's Magical Must-See Turning Red. And we scroll down a bit, and now the scene that's being referred to, and this is a scene that's going to come up a lot. After regarding a mindless doodle of a boy she had drawn in the corner of her homework, May suddenly gets up from her desk, rolls under her bed, and starts frantically drawing picture after picture of her neighborhood crush. The spell is broken only by a knock on her door by her mother. And here's the full quote of what she actually said. I haven't seen that before in a lot of movies, but it is an experience that, if you talk to any female artists, they have had, said she, who recalls during a recent video call having secret sketchbooks of her own while she was growing up. Then, she says, I just want people to discover that girls can be as weird and pervy and strange as boys can be with this movie. Now, Crash, as much as I had sent you this article shortly after I suggested this, I don't know if you've had a chance to go through the whole thing yet, but this article is a gift that keeps on giving. Because I discovered another section, another quote that has been conveniently left out. Because Domishi later goes on to say, quote, I like to think that May, in all of her innocence, doesn't know how to draw the lower half of a boy, said she, who insists that a lot of tween girls have a mermaid phase. So she draws him with a mermaid tail because it's easier to imagine. Again, context.
Yeah, but if you use context, you can disprove any argument that I want to make. And no, I want to make the argument, sir, so that I can get content clicks on my shitty website. Thank you very much.
Right, like when it comes to things like this, and like a lot of social media in general, I find that more often than not, people want to be seen as two things: righteous and right. Here's the problem: those two things do not go together.
Now, you could be righteous and think you're right, or you can actually be right. Maybe 1 in 1,000 times you're good enough for actually being righteously right, but almost immediately you milkshake duck. Almost immediately.
Oh yeah, like this whole thing is almost what I would call ego activism.
Ooh.
At its absolute finest.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah. Pay attention to what I think of this movie, because this movie isn't about me, and that is very upsetting to me. Me.
Exactly. And also, I think before we continue, I'm going to put in a bit of a potential trigger warning, because a lot of these, again, air quotes, reviews will go out of their way to try and imply pedophilia. And if that's going to be an issue for you, then I want you to be aware of that before we go any further. But again, context. Verify that you are getting the full goddamn quote.
Mm-hmm.
Because, oh my god, this first one was so easy to verify and discredit. But I will also say that a lot of the responses on these are people who are just going, "You're wrong," which is just kind of lovely to see. We go to a response to that post on, I guess it was their Instagram story, where someone had messaged them and said, "I watched trailers and thought it was just a movie about a little girl that turns into a panda. Turned it on with my toddler this morning, and after watching 15-ish minutes of it, I was mortified." Now, that 15-minute number is going to come up a lot as well. She draws inappropriate pictures of herself with an older boy. She's 13, he's 17. Now, if hugging someone younger than yourself is inappropriate, then as an early childhood educator, holy shit, am I in trouble? Because if they're worried about this, let me tell you all about my average working day. And to continue the quote, and then her mother talks to her about her delicate flower, which we as adult women definitely know what that means.
Well, it's good that someone explained to this person at least that terminology, and clearly not much beyond it.
No. I'm so glad my son is still little and doesn't understand. I have the sneaking suspicion she's hoping he never does, and is therefore probably single for his entire life. But I suggest every mama avoid this movie. I'm absolutely mortified by the small amount that I did watch. So with that final sentence, she does at least say that she has no business criticizing this movie in any way, and her opinion should be under no circumstances be considered credible.
So why I say them?
Oh, that's easy, and I can answer that with 2 words. Pearl clutching.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Yeah, pretty much.
Like, again, this is ego activism. As soon as they have something that they can clutch the pearls and get on their high horse about, that's all they need. Mm-hmm. Once again, pretty much every comment responding to this image is people saying, yeah, none of this is true.
I mean, I'm happy that, like, the response by the audience seems to be, oh, piss off. You know, it's not actually gaining into something. It's just being like, are you fucking kidding me? I saw someone point out one reviewer, one complaining review said, like, oh, you'd never see a movie like this about a teenage boy. And it's called, it's like, yeah, it's called fucking Teen Wolf. They made 2 of them and then a TV series. It's fucking Teen Wolf for girls. And that seems to upset people because it involves blood. I mean, like, at the very end of this, it's either like you're upset that time passes, or honestly, you're still fucking squiggly around blood. Because there is no other excuse for being, like, off-put by the fact that women menstruate. Ah!
Oh, yeah, and if you're getting this pearl clutchy over a Pixar movie, wait till your kids are a little bit older and discover a movie called Ginger Snaps.
Oh, sweet Jesus. Not Ginger Snaps. Oh, Jesus.
If these refugees from 1955 are mortified now...
Mm-hmm. These are the kind of people who wrote into the movie, wrote in reviews for the movie Pleasantville, being like, it was quite nice at the beginning, but that color sure is fucking garish. It's fucking Pleasantville.
But next up, and again, at this point, it's basically response to a response now, because they're posting each comment that they're sent as an Instagram story, and then somebody responds to that, and then they're posting that one. So here's a response to what I've just read. This movie basically romanticizes pornography for children. And I'm just going to say right off the bat, that never happened. After the mother finds the inappropriate drawings she drew of her and the older boy, little girl in the movie says to herself, "You sicko, why would you draw those things, those awful, horrible, sexy things, in a children's movie? It's absolutely insane." Now, okay, obviously, I am not a 13-year-old girl. But we have all had those moments at some point where we are absolutely mortified and disgusted with ourselves about something.
Yeah, even if it's innocuous, the fact that it has been exposed against your wishes is itself going to cause that reaction.
Exactly. Like that quote, this is her processing her mother's discovery of those drawings, which, as it would be with any 13-year-old, regardless of gender, this is her worst nightmare come to life, and she's beating herself up over what's happening.
Yeah, and considering what her mother then immediately goes on to do with the books, it's kind of completely understandable why. Because if like, I get the feeling her mother does these kinds of, this is her reaction, is to go and confront things, right? And it becomes incredibly embarrassing, and it more or less triggers emotionally the puberty the next day, like the embarrassment over this. It's not a one for one, but narratively, one triggers the other. And you get the feeling that she knows that this is what her mom's going to do. She's not beating herself up. She's beating herself up for allowing herself to be put in this position by her mother, knowing full well that her mother's response won't be to try to understand it or to just be a little upset. She's going full blown insane, and it's going to ruin her entire life in front of people in public. That's what she's fucking talking about.
Yeah, and like, let's be honest, when you're 13, every single negative, even remotely traumatic event is going to ruin your life.
Yeah, because it's the worst thing to ever happen to you ever. Because it is the worst thing to probably happen to you ever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like, also, I mean, yes, the character of the mother draws heavily on stereotypes of the Asian mother. That's about the only criticism where I would say you're not wrong. But at the same time, this is Domishi drawing on her own life experiences. And those stereotypes, there is a degree of truth in just the simple fact that has to come from somewhere.
Plus, I know, like, non-Asian mothers who were like that. I know kids who were just as, like, sheltered as Maymay. I knew a kid going to school in the Ontario school system around this time who had that kind of intense relationship with their parents. And, like, they thought it was normal and fine. And you're just like, sweet Jesus, you have to be home by 7 p.m. every night. There is no exception for any reason. Like, it was allowed to watch an hour of television a week and, like, adhered to it. And it's like, you don't understand how weird this is. And it has nothing necessarily to do with, like, their culture. It's just some people's parents are fucking like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah. Like, there's a reason the term helicopter parent is universal.
Yeah.
Next up, a response to what I just read again. this somebody put a hard pass sticker on their post here, where they commented, "Didn't even make it 15 minutes." So again, right away, you're at least showing us enough respect to tell us that you have no business commenting on the movie at all.
Yeah.
In the first 2 minutes, they talk about honoring your parents until you're not honoring yourself. I mean,
that's not supposed to be
not
like taken as a good thing. You're supposed to understand that as the emotional setup of a child going into their journey. That from there, stuff grows.
It's not as if May being brought up in a culture of honoring your family and now having reached the point in life where she's trying to grow and figure out who she is as a person. It's not as if that emotional conflict is like the primary story of the movie or anything.
Oh, no. That would... Listen, again, with context, you can disprove anything that I am trying to say. I don't want you to consider the rest of the story. I just want to be upset about how I'm reacting to it right now, going into a film that I want to be upset about.
Now, for this next one, we're going back to responses to the first thing we read. Now, the ministry captions this: in the film, the girl who turns into a panda says, "My panda, my choice." It's not like they're trying to highlight a point that they think that they have or anything here. I mean, yes, that quote is in the movie. It's entirely accurate and justified.
But it's like, yeah, it's not... The moment isn't talking about some sort of sexual object or erogenous zone or whatever. It's literally talking about like owning identity to someone else who disowned that identity.
Yeah, and now here's the comment that they were sent. I watched this just to see how bad it was. So, again, like the first thing you're saying is, I hate watched this, which means you're biased, you're incapable of objectivity, your opinion means nothing.
Yeah.
The girls were the complete opposite of feminine and what girls should be. Needless to say, my creep alarm is now going off.
Yeah. Beep, 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 beep.
Because what girls should be is whatever they are meant to be.
Yep.
There is no one set of characteristics.
However they choose to be, hey, guess what? That's them.
Exactly. Like, once again, if you think that all women are supposed to fit into one mold, welcome to the 21st century. How was your journey from 1955? But to continue, they were perverted, loud, jarring, brash, obnoxious, annoying, and selfish and crude. So basically, they were 13. They even had and I'm going to read this as it is written, just for the sake of my own amusement. They even had the daughter Day, my body, my choice, to her mother, as well as make fun of typical Chinese parents. I'm, again, pretty sure that this was written by an Asian woman. So if this was making fun, which, no. But for the sake of argument, if there is anyone who would be, I would almost say, entitled to make fun of typical Chinese parents, it would be someone who was raised by them.
Yeah. Quite possibly someone who, if they have a child, would themselves then be Chinese immigrant parents, second generation, Like they may just have their own perspective on this with experience.
Yeah,
Hey, here's an idea to find out. What's the fucking movie they made about it?
Like, again, if anyone would know, and once more to continue, they also encouraged honoring yourself first and foremost. I'm not seeing the bad part there. And that disobeying and being disrespectful to parents is okay. Now, no, being disrespectful to your parents is not okay, but at the age of 13, when you are testing your limits and pushing boundaries, it is normal.
Yeah, it's just it's not a weird thing. I don't know. You ever get the feeling that these people got like smacked down really early on by their parents?
Oh, there's probably a certain degree of that, but also I think we're gonna get back to this at the end, because I do notice a general theme that if you haven't figured it out by the time we're done, the very last thing, which was something that I'd stumbled across today, will spell it out for you in big neon lights. But they go on to say, and this is just, I don't understand this, but it's funny to me. And the forced diversity was very, very annoying beta males and all that. What?
What? What? What? Do you mean the father?
And as I said earlier, I'm reading this as it is written. If I can get through it. They women all in charge and boys and men weak.
Charlie.
Not just this.
Charlie Day wrote this. Yeah, this is Charlie's writing.
Yes. Not just this, but the main girl danced provocative and sexual in front of people and family. I'm sorry, if you find the dancing of a 13-year-old girl provocative and sexual, I have questions about you.
Yeah, first of all, gross. Second of all, what do you think dancing is? Because those were 13-year-old very awkward people trying to dance. And the amount of animation work that went into making them awkward and uncoordinated, it was just like, wow, that was incredible. I really hope they had one day where it's just do your worst 13-year-old dance and like they recorded it for stop motion. So there's a bunch of like, there's gigs and gigs of people's data just being like,
oh God, that would be amazing. But I once more, this last sentence is just a beautiful, where the fuck did you get this from? And of course, lesbian couple of girls in 8th grade.
No, I can't think of them.
Yeah.
That move stood out because, one, it's a Disney Pixar film and we'd all be talking about it. Two, I'm hella queer, and anytime that shit happens, you just smell it. Bullshit! I call bullshit.
Like, if they meant May and the character that was her best friend, I don't quite want to say that I could see it, but it's more, okay, you looked at that relationship and you went looking for something that would fit your bias and your, well, frankly, flat out bigotry. And when I say looking, You took scenes from this movie, put them under the most powerful microscope that science has to offer, and cranked that shit up as high as you possibly could.
Yeah.
Because that is the only way that you could possibly come to this conclusion.
And even then, I'm still sitting there being like, is it just because she wore pants and a hat? It's probably because she wore pants and a hat. The pants and the hat are because she's in fucking Canada and it's cold.
Yeah.
That's not gay here. That's just warm.
Now, how about we move on to homophobia or move on from homophobia and almost desperately sought after pedophilia to good old fashioned racism.
God. All right. All right. Fuck it.
Quote, "It was playing the doctor's office today, and all I saw was them bowing down to their ancestors with incense in obvious worship. Mm-hmm. More so than like Mulan. That'll be an absolute no from me."
Okay, so they're against Chinese cultural ancestor worship. They're literally against their religion being displayed in media.
Not only that, because I don't think it's even religion. It's more how in a lot of Asian culture, like, family is extremely important, and I don't even think that it was worship so much as reverence toward their ancestors and respect for family history.
Oh no, it's literally it's literally part of the culture is ancestor worship. Like it's quite literal. But that's not like that's their religion and culture. What about it? What about it? Like, there are those places in Toronto. Those shrines exist. They are family owned. Sometimes they're owned by corporations that are like Chinese companies that used to be. This is not that person has never fucking been to Toronto.
No, and like, not only that, but frankly, after watching the movie, I would like to go to one of those temples.
Oh, they're so cool. I think there is one somewhere in Halifax. I can't remember. But yeah, no, like they're amazing. They're beautiful. And like it's this rich expression of these relatively like well-off families that immigrated to Canada like a century and a half ago. And like it's like a sample of their culture that they were able to bring here and build on and like cement and make foundational. Fuck whoever said that.
But like I said, there is a pretty clear pattern in all of these comments. And if you haven't figured out this consistent pattern, this last one, I feel like I said, will spell it out for you in big, bright neon lights. Now, this is a Facebook post from the official Peloton mom group. And I don't know about you, but I read this title and all I can picture is conservative Christian women riding exercise bikes while clutching pearls.
Yep.
Which, by the way, if you're listening to this and you're a bored artist, please draw that. Because that is art I kind of want to see. But this person wrote, "PSA, I watched Turning Red with my boys this weekend. Boys ages 9 and 13. They had tons of questions regarding girls and their periods. I wish there had been a warning before watching it with them. Anyone else?" It's almost as if all of these objections, all of this completely unfounded criticism stems from the simple fact that these conservative parents don't want to talk to their kids about anything.
Mm-hmm. That shit is creepy. It's scary. No one wants to have to talk, but like, you gotta do it. So stop being such a bitch about it. And like, there's a cartoon by Pixar that is having it for you. You don't even have to really go into it. You can just sit them down in front of that and then be like, what are your questions afterwards? But no. Now we have to have a culture war over a red panda.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you basically want your TV to raise your kids for you so that you don't have to interact with them. Mm-hmm. Well, your TV is raising your kids for you, and it's having the conversations you're supposed to, and you don't like that. So you got what you wanted, and you still lost.
Yeah. Not right, and people.
Make no mistake. Now, these boys at 9 and 13 asking all these questions about girls, I applaud them.
Yeah.
Because as someone who, around that age, was pretty much terrified of talking to girls, period, and frankly was for decades after that. Thank you so much, social anxiety. I kind of wish that I had been having those conversations in my early teen years.
Right. Probably would have helped a lot of people.
Exactly.
It's not a bad thing, but no, everyone's got to be terrified and everyone's got to be up in arms about it. Just figure.
And so, just the only thing I would want to say, just to wrap up, is that I thoroughly enjoy and support this movie in every way imaginable, to the point that if Build-A-Bear actually starts selling the Turning Red Panda, I will go there. I will buy it. I will name it Spite Panda. And I will do this because of every single Christian conservative parent on the internet.
Huzzah!